Good day everyone, welcome to this new coding series. Even if I made multiple videos in the past where I showed examples of finding the shortest path in a town where you have multiple layers, a simple traffic system, or smoke coming out of a chimney top. And now I would like to show you how to code a simple truck with a trailer the easiest way. As you know, I make a TT-inspired game, and so far I only created, well, the simple trucks, but I thought about creating some trucks with trailers as well. And if we have a truck like this, then we have a trailer and a truck which sometimes face different directions. And that needs to be coded. I already showed you a short video that I made a small physics engine from scratch, which is much more complicated than this example. Of course, for a TT-like game, the purpose is to make it easy, and easy. So this is the purpose of the whole process. Well, let's see this example in DarkBasic Professional. I know maybe I did not mention yet why I code in DarkBasic Professional this project, but that's for another episode. Let's now say for me this is now the easiest way to make this showcase. So let's open a new project and set up the basics. The code on the left runs only once, while the main program loop on the right runs repeatedly until exit. So at first step let's set up the scene and create a terrain and a truck, which will be in this example only a box object. Using the sinus and cosinus functions, imagine our truck as it is on the edge of a circle, we can calculate its new position knowing its angle with the next formula. So let's run this code and see how it looks like. So we can drive around nicely with this truck, but we did not set up the camera yet, so maybe that's the next step. So luckily we have some great functions for these in DarkBasic Professionals, so we don't have to code that same sinus and cosinus based functions as we calculated our truck's position. Set camera to follow will do the job for us. So we can drive around nicely now and we see ourselves from a behind view, but we don't have any trailer yet, so let's add that in the next step. So we'll just create a plane object and a box for the trailer and its wheel, and the reason we have to rotate the trailer's object, the plane object, in 90 degrees is because this is how it gets horizontal in DarkBasic Professional. Let's see how it looks. Well, this is not something like a trailer. Let's modify the code a little bit and I explain it. We have to offset the trailer with 15 units. Why? We have a trailer with a middle point here and it is 40 units long. But we will change the relative position of the specified limb, in this case the object itself, so that the middle point will be at the wheel's position, because that's the point where it will turn. And as the wheel is 10 units long, the distance between these is 15 units. So this will be our trailer object, which we are going to attach to this truck. And how to do that? Let's see the example. Well, first let's define a starting position for the trailer as well, which will be 35 units behind our truck. And then, with the aton function, which is the arctangent function, you can calculate the angle between 2 points in the field, which will be the truck and the trailer. So we'll get basically the result of what angle has this slope. But of course DarkBasic is clever, and instead of using the 2 lines of code, we can do that in one single line with the atonful, which basically returns the angle between 2 points in the fields between 0 and 360 degrees. And as you see now, wherever we drive, the trailer will always rotate to our direction. This code is also ideal for a game where you want an enemy aiming perfectly to your direction. But this is also a code example each game used when, for example, rotating plane objects like trees to make sure they always face the camera. So now we have one more step to position the truck to the ideal place so that it's always behind the truck in the right position. So first we'll calculate the distance between our truck and the trailer. We already calculated the x and the z distances, they are stored in dx and dz variables. The distance can be calculated simply with the simple help of the sqrt function, so it's a completely standard Euclidean distance. And now we create a direction unit vector from this. The vector formed by dx and dz points toward the truck. But this can be longer or shortened than the ideal distance as well. So we need a vector that is exactly 35 units long, no more and no less. So first we normalize the vector that the length is 1 unit, and then we multiply it with the needed distance, which is 35. This gives a vector that is exactly 35 units long and points directly toward the truck. But let's see how it looks. Perfect. We can drive around with the truck and the trailer will always be at the correct position. Of course, at a physics model game this code won't be ideal, but it's a great starting point. And as I told you, my project is not a physics model this time. So let's jump into the small little world and see how it looks there. So here we are and we see our little truck coming to the fields to load some grain from that bluish container. I zoomed a little bit in so we see it in more detail. Well, that's perfect for me. But what happens when the truck makes that 180-degree turn? I did not think about that. Let's see. Ha! Nice! I like it. So as I told you, the goal was to make this relatively easy and to have a not very much overcomplicated code. I know I added X and Z rotations as well, because the surface here is not flat, but that was already coded for the trucks. By the way, if you like my channel, feel free to subscribe and you can see some other interesting videos about this project and about other stuff too, and feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or anything to say about this. So I hope you liked this little video and hopefully we will see us next time as well. Bye bye!